Sup guys, Ratman here. So I'm going to be talking about something really interesting. So I'm going to go over everything because this idea can be used for more than just adding secrets to your game. For instance, this could be used for saving achievements a player has gotten to a save game file and other things that I can't come up with at the moment. But since I'll explain everything, um, let this be a video for you to watch that could lead to other ideas besides just adding secret items to a game. So, for starters, let's start with our player right here. So, this is my player. We have this little thing, which is an input action interact. I can go over that real fast. If I go into player blueprint, we have our inputs right here. So this is a built-in system for Unreal Engine. I believe this was added in 5. So 5 and onwards should have IA or input action. And you create this little thing called an input action. If I open up jump, you can see I created it into a digital bool, meaning that when the button is pressed, this value. So when the button is pressed, this value gets set to true, and then it gets set back to false depending on things such as this. This is a trigger, and what this trigger does is makes it so that when I press the button, it only gets pressed once, so it's not a held button. So this will be set to true, then get set immediately to false, and will not be set back to true until I press the button again, which is, of course, the space bar. Now, the way that you set that stuff is you have to create this called an input mapping context, and then you add your stuff. Right here we have IA jump, and then you set which keyboard, and this works for gamepad as well, so you can easily add controller stuff to this. So for me, jump is spacebar or uh, the A button on an Xbox controller, or I believe the is it the triangle button on PlayStation? I don't play PlayStation. Anyways, for interact, it's E or another button on the gamepad. I believe X on Xbox. So yeah, that's how that stuff works. So that's why I have this right here. So now when this is triggered, when I press E, we go through this, which is interact overlap. This checks to make sure that when I press E, I am in fact overlapping with something. If I am, then we move on to. And the reason I have this is because I have the same button mapped for picking up the phone in my game. So you don't need this. This is helpful, obviously, for getting rid of errors. When you press this and then let's say you don't have is valid, it would go straight to the interact and then it would go like, but there's nothing to interact with, and you'll get an error. So this can be helpful for not having dumb errors like that. But so is valid. So you still wouldn't need the branch. You could just have this is valid, which pretty much means that if this is set to none, this is my interact actor ref. So when I overlap with an item, I set the interact actor reference to that item I'm overlapping with. So when I'm not overlapping with an actor, this is set to none. So what this is valid checks is if this is set to anything other than none. If it's not, if it's set to anything other than none, then the interact actor ref is valid, meaning that it is set to a object. Now, if let's say this is set to none, I'm not overlapping with any object, then it's set to invalid. And then therefore we move on to my secrets actor, and we check to see if I'm overlapping with this. So this checks to see if this is set to anything, and if it is set to something, then we call grab secret, which I think I actually forgot to do something real fast. I did. I need to add in set secret actor ref to self. So let's just grab self, get reference to self, do this, do that, That is good enough. Which actually, this is for end overlap, so we want to set this to none. And then up here, we want to set it to self. So there we go. So yeah, when I overlap with a secret actor, it sets interact overlap to true. And then it sets, if I play, we can check this out. It sets a little thing right here. Press E to interact, which is cool. And then when I stop overlapping with it, it gets rid of it. So yeah, we get a little button prompt saying press E to interact. And then when I'm not interacting with it, when I'm not overlapping with it, I mean, it gets turned off. Interact overlap is also set to false, and our secret actor gets set to none. So yeah. Oh boy. Okay. Moving on to the next important piece. I guess this is a lot. So we actually need to go into here, which is my game instance. The way you create a game instance is you can put it in any folder you want. I just put it into the content folder, but you pretty much just go into blueprint class, go to all classes, and you want to search for game, instance. And right here we have our game instance. And then you select that, create a new game instance, and you can name it whatever you want. And this allows you to create a game instance that is editable. You can add things to it and whatnot. And the reason you want to do this is because the way that the save game works in Unreal Engine is that you would have to load the game from the slot every time you open up a new map, which obviously is not great for processing power, for saving processing power and whatnot. So yeah, it's just better to do it this way since the game instance is actually persistent, meaning that when you transition from one level to another, um nothing gets reset in the game instance. The game instance stays the exact same. So if I were to set a variable in game instance in level 1, when I go to level 2, I won't have to set it again. It will just stay set. So that's pretty cool. So now, in game init, what you have to do is that also the game instance actually gets loaded first. It gets loaded before anything else in your game. So that's another reason why it's very important to have a custom game instance if you have um save game stuff. Anyways, so event init is the same as begin play in like any blueprint. If I go into here and go all the way up, I have a lot in here. We have event begin play. And that pretty much means that as soon as this actor loads in, all of this shit gets run. And it's the same for this, but it's called event init. And this is because, once again, the game instance is initialized, it's created before anything else in your game when you load the game for the first time. Or, well, not even just the first time, anytime you load the game. So now what this does is it checks to see if a save game exists. Specifically, I have my save game called Save 1. So now if it does exist, we just load it from slot, cast to my custom save game, which is right here, and it has some stuff in it. And then we set this thing right here, which is our save game reference. This is just so we don't have to call load save game every single time we open up a new level. But yeah, so then we set save game instance, and then this is what I do. I have it grab the secret test variable in here, which is a map instance. I'll go over why that's the case, but I have it um find this and then we set this save test in here to be the same as this one. This is just so we don't run into any issues, such as, let's say I load the game up, game instance gets loaded, and then we have secret test set to false because that's its default value. And then this one actually has secret test. Our first variable has that set to true. Then it's possible that when something else runs, such as update save, it's entirely possible that we would actually remove the secret object from the player's save, meaning that this would get, if this is set to true in the save game, it could get set back to false by accident if we don't do this. So that's why I did that. It's just a safety measure. I make sure to add as much redundancy in my code as possible because I know I'm dumb. All right. Next up, we have let's go with unlock secret. So in my secrets or secret object, my secret actor, which is this thing right here, we have grab secret. So when the player walks up to this and they can press E to interact, when they press E, it runs this called grab secret. And we grab our game instance, cast it to HG instance, grab our secret test from in here. God damn it. There we go. So we grab secrets test, and then we grab our secret key. And this is this variable right here. So the way a map works in Unreal Engine is really cool. You can have one variable and then another variable. So this first variable right here is what's called a key. You can set this to a integer, a string, a name, a float, pretty much anything except for a boolean. And maybe these ones, I'm not really sure. But pretty much this is the key or the name of your uh index. So instead of, let's say with an array, if I make an array real fast of booleans, because this is the original way I was going to do my secrets, and I realized this would be a pain in the ass. It's just called index 0, meaning that for the secrets I add into my game, such as this block, I couldn't give it a cool name, such as block. I would have to give it a integer value, and it would have to match up with the index in the array. And that, I saw that that could possibly get confusing for me personally later in the future, which is why I'm using a map. Obviously, you could go with the Boolean array instead. Once again, this would work for achievements. So, for instance, you could have achievement 1. Let's say achievement 1 is you played the game. Then, when the player loads into the game for the first time, you would have to add code that would pretty much say, event begin. This doesn't have event begin play, so we're going to create an event. And let's just say this is called event begin play. Or, you know what? We can load into this one. So, we have event begin play right here. So the player starts up the game, event begin play runs, and then you'd have to say that you'd have to remember exactly which integer value or array index. God damn it. Where the fuck? There it is. So you'd have to specifically say, let's call this achievements. So right here, you'd have to remember exactly which index equals which achievement in your game. And obviously, that would be quite obnoxious if you have, more than like 10 achievements in your game. This would get really annoying to try and remember, which is why the map is actually better. You did not see what I just clicked on here. Okay. You did not see the values. Forget you saw anything. So, anyways, that's why I used map instead, is because I get to name my thing. So I can give each. So, for instance, I could name this, played game. And then I would just have to, in here, load up the game instance. God damn it, I can't spell. So we get game instance, cast to HG instance, and then we would just pull from HG instance secrets. Of course, I would name it something a little bit different. I would name it unlocked or I mean achievements. And then what you can do is you can do add right here. And then you would type in, game played, and you would set that to true. Really easy to make achievements that way. So much simpler than having to remember a fucking index. So yeah, that's why I'm doing this personally. Is just because I find it easier. So now let's set this back to secret test, and I'll explain why. So first off, when you give a secret a key, you actually can't have two, or when you give a map index a name or a key, you actually can't give two the same name. Watch this. Duplicate keys are not allowed in map properties. So you cannot have duplicate keys. So each key has to have a unique name. This allows for, no issues to occur where when you call a secret, when you try to find a secret, or I mean, when you try to find a key, you don't get duplicate keys. So that's nice. So back into here. So when we go into, so when we grab, this is the wrong thing, motherfucker. I'm all over the place right now. Secret. That's what I called it. Okay, so when you press E on this object to, grab the secret, you then call game instance and call secret, and then you do add, and I input my secret key, which right here I set to secret test because it has to be the exact same. So this is the other thing. When trying to find a key or a value in a map and you use your key to find that value, you have to make sure that the key is the exact same as the key name in the map. So you have to make sure that it's capitalized the same, spelt the same, everything. Any misspelling or changing capitalization will make it so that when you run this ad, it fails. So just a little warning there. I just realized this is redundant. I should have just called unlock. Whoopsies. Right here. Unlock secret. There we go. So we call unlock secret, grab my secret key, get it, and then we go into, unlock secret in here. And this add, the way that this works is if a key already exists, then instead of adding a new key, it actually just changes the value of said key. God damn, what's going on with my neighbors? Sorry about that. Um, so yeah, this is a way to change the value because if we have like an array, normally the way that that works, let's just create a random array right now. So if we have an array right here, instead of doing this add, you could do a for each loop, and that's something you can't do with a map. You cannot do a for each loop. So you could do a for each loop with an array. You could just do a get copy, and then you just input the index. You can't do that here. There is no get copy. You have to use add in order to change the value of a item in your map. So yeah, just another thing that is unique to maps that you should be wary about if you're working with maps. So we run unlock secret. And then that also, after running unlock secret, in secrets, what happens is we then destroy the actor. So we get rid of this actor. And also another thing I did is I actually have it that on event begin play in one of these. I have it print to the console because this is for testing. So as you can see up here, we have my key equals secret test and value equals false. And if we check inside of HG, we can see that that is in fact, get rid of this one, that is in fact true. It's called secret test and it is false. And once again, we can check here to make sure it's the same secret test and it is false. So now what we get to do is this. We get to update our save. And you can run this whenever you want, but for testing purposes, I'm just going to run it right after unlocking secret. So now we have a change in values right here. So this secret test is now going to be set to true in unlock secrets. However, in here, this one is still set to false. In our save game, it's still set to false. So the way we fix that is we update our save. So the way we do that is we grab our secret and then you want to grab the key. This outputs an array of all of the keys, so all of the strings right here. So it outputs secret test. Obviously, if I had more arrays with other key names, it would output all of those. And then this is how you're able to run a for each loop. So then we run a for each loop of these keys from secret test inside of HG instance. And then we grab our save game ref, which we once again set up here. And also when if we don't have a save game of the save one variety, so this returns false, then we create one and we set save game reference again. So now what happens is we go into secret test and we once again do a find key. So now we're finding a value using a key. So right here, we input our element, our array element, so our key right here from secrets test. So this is the way that this would work. We go into our for each loop. The first array element in our keys array is going to be called secret test. And once again, in here, it's also called secret test. So what we do is we find in the array of both of these, or well, we find in our map for both of these a item called secret test because that is the first index in our array. And when we find it, what I did is I compared the values. So if there's a difference in values, for instance, once again, if this one is set to true, this one is false, however, then that's why this is needed, because then we can check to see if they're the same. If they are not, if they are the same, then nothing happens. But if there is a difference, then we change our secret test map inside of the save file. We change that. We change our specific key to be the same as our one in secrets test in our HG instance. And then we get to save the game to slot. Okay. With all that out of the way, let me actually share my full screen so you guys can see something real fast. I know this is a lot of talking and whatnot, but I feel like with a lot of tutorials, they don't really explain things fully. They just kind of show you how to do something. And that's kind of what I want to do, is make something that you could actually learn from and not copy. So now that's wrong. There we go. We can go into saved, and this is actually where your save game gets stored. I haven't saved. I don't have it set up to save my game yet. So, yeah. One thing I could do real fast is just do this. So if I open this one up, we create a save game now. Saved games, save one. And I just realized I might have done a oopsie. I did do an oopsie. Whoops. Let me just fix that real fast. So first off, we actually want to delete our save file since the save file should have also updated with the new information because of yeah. Anyways, there we go. Okay. So now we can test this out and I can show you that it works. So the first time we play, as we can see that secret test, our key secret test equals false. So now if I go on ahead and pick this up, our game gets saved. And if I go out to here, we can also see that secret test. It didn't update it yet. One second. This is the wrong one. I don't know if it'll actually show that it updated. It doesn't show that it updated, but it should have updated. So now we can run it again and see that, yep, it updated and it saved it to true. So now our value equals true. And that is one way you can add something like that. And, just to show how cool this can really be, we have our little thing right here, our secret object. We can go into our thing right here, which this is your each level has its own blueprint, so you can open level blueprint, and then we can make a create reference to our secret object on event beacon play. What we can do now is break this real fast. We can actually check, or actually we want to put this probably near the end, I would assume. This is just the print function I created for showing that everything updated. But another thing we can now do is that for this for each loop, we can then check, see if a item is false and whatnot. So actually one easy way to go about this is to just grab this right over here and do a quick find. So we find an item in here and then we want to branch and just kind of set up the destroy actor real fast. Okay, so if this is set to true, if our secret test is set to true. So what this will do is if we have already picked up this secret, then when we load into this level, it will delete the secret because we've already found it. We've already picked it up. And if we press play, we can see that it's gone. And once again, just to prove my point, delete my save, run it again. It's back. We pick it up. It's gone. We have a save file. Press play. It's not there anymore. So yeah, just a cool little thing that I worked out on my own. It was a painful process. I'm making these tutorials for people who are game developers and are like me and can't find tutorials for specific things that they're trying to do. So anytime I'm trying to look for something and I can't find a tutorial for it, I'm probably just going to make one of these videos for people like me. Anyways, whoopsies. I hope that was helpful. Uh I know it was a long video and I'm kind of long-winded, but I hope this helped anybody who was looking for it. See you guys in the next one. Peace.